Welcome to Bible Reader Companion. We're taking our studies this week from 1 Peter chapters 4 and 5. We're going to look today at 1 Peter chapter 4 at some verses here. We're going to begin in 1 Peter chapter 4, verse 1. Reading, as always, from the New King James Version. Therefore, since Christ suffered for us in the flesh, arm yourselves also with the same mind. For he who has suffered in the flesh has ceased from sin, that he should no longer live the rest of his time in the flesh for the lust of men, but for the will of God. For we have spent enough of our past lifetime in doing the will of the Gentiles, when we walked in lewdness, lust, drunkenness, revelries, drinking parties, and abominable idolatries. You know, he says something here that I think sounds simple, and yet it is one of the hardest things to do, and yet is the key to being successful in serving God and in not doing those things that we don't desire to do. And that is, he says, since Christ suffered for us in the flesh, arm yourselves also with the same mind. How is it that Jesus was successful in resisting the things of the flesh? We know that he came as man, we know that he faced temptation, and we know that he was successful in overcoming those temptations. But what made the difference? Some would argue it's because he was God and he couldn't sin, and yet that wouldn't be the same, would it? I believe he gives us the key here. And he says, he who has suffered in the flesh ceased from sin. Why? Because of a certain mindset. You see, the Bible talks about it's impossible for God to lie. Why? Because that's his character. He's already made the decision. His character is such that he will not lie. Jesus was such that his mind was so made up that he was not going to sin, that it didn't matter what temptation he faced. His mind was already set. Now here's the question for us. Is our mind already set? Do we go into situations wondering, what will I do? Or what should I do? Or do we go into situations saying, I know what the Bible says. I know what God expects of me. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. It doesn't matter what the temptation is. It doesn't matter what the offer is. The answer is no, I will not sin. I will not give way to temptation. Because you see, that's where the real key is. The key is in the mindset that we have toward the things that we face. Is it the mind of Christ that says, I will not succumb to these things that the Gentiles succumb to? I will not succumb to the temptations of the flesh. Or is it the mind of the Gentiles that is the contrast here that allows them to walk in the lewdness and the lust of the flesh because that's their mindset? I hope you'll think on these things and hope you'll join us again tomorrow. Thank you.